The Articles of Confederation. Although the Articles of Confederation recognized the need for a central government, it relied on the states to make the decisions that would ultimately determine whether the country would survive. Under the Articles of Confederation, the national government had two levels of government: a weak national government with a one-house Congress and a dominant state governments. Congress was given limited power to declare war, make peace, and sign treaties. The national government could borrow money, but it had no power to tax the individual states. The Articles of Confederation created a national army and navy, but the government had no power to draft soldiers. There was no chief executive or national court system, and legislation had to be passed by a two-thirds majority. The states could create economic havoc by imposing tariffs on each other, by creating their own currency in addition to the national currency, by refusing to amend the Articles of Confederation. An amendment needed unanimous approval by the states, and by refusing to recognize treaties made by the national government. Foreign policy was virtually non-existent. The Barbary pirates threatened our ships, and our borders were vulnerable to attacks from both English and Spanish interests. A success of the national government was the Northwest Ordinance, which abolished slavery in the newly acquired Northwest territories. The most positive aspect of the government was that a new middle class was developing on the state level. Even though the old guard from the colonial era still existed, small farmers began to dominate state politics. This created a broader political base and started the beginning of opposing political parties, Federalists and Anti-Federalists. By 1787, it was obvious that, at a minimum, the Articles of Confederation had to be revised, and many felt that they should be totally changed to reflect the realities of what a functional government should be. With the exception of Rhode Island, the rest of the states sent 55 delegates to the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1789. The makeup included merchants, farmers, lawyers, and bankers, as well as state government officials. Leaders such as Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, Patrick Henry, John Adams, and John Hancock doubted that abolishing the Articles of Confederation was the answer to the country's problems, and did not attend. Those in attendance felt that a revision of the Articles of Confederation would not go far enough. Hamilton, Washington, and Madison led the fight for a new constitution. Benjamin Franklin, at age 81, was one of the oldest delegates attending the convention, and the only delegate to sign both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Philosophically, the delegates were split on how to reconcile basic differences regarding the organization of a new government. They shared a cynical belief that people could not give power to government, and that political conflict would naturally occur if there were not built-in checks. Because the delegates came from the newly emerging middle class, as well as the traditionally rich property owners, they quickly saw that factions would exist both in the government and in society. The Federalist Papers in Federalist No. 10 pointed out that these factions could ultimately paralyze effective government. Self-interest of the delegates resulted in an agreement that the objective of government should be to protect the property owner. Ultimately, a series of checks and balances, outlined in Federalist No. 47, and a structure of government that stressed a separation of powers, became the fiber of the new Constitution.